Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of SpongeBob Now. Today, I will be talking about naughty nautical neighbors and boating school. First, I'm going to talk about naughty nautical neighbors. Enjoy. On a seemingly normal day, Squidward has made a delicious souffle, but SpongeBob and Patrick's incessant laughter distracts him from enjoying it. Squidward sees that they are having a private conversation with Bubbles. They whisper a message into the bubble wand instead of blowing into it, and when the bubble pops, the recipient can hear the message. Annoyed by this, Squidward comes up with a foolproof plan to mess up SpongeBob and Patrick's fun. As the first phase, he makes bubbles of his own using a byproduct from his souffle, and proceeds to insult the two while sometimes imitating their voices to ruin their friendship, thinking it will give him peace and quiet. Thinking the bubbles are from each other, SpongeBob and Patrick become angry and get into a fight as Squidward comes outside and eats his souffle, amused at his neighbor's fight. The two eventually declare that they are no longer friends before storming back to their houses unaware of Squidward as the one who caused this. Squidward thinks the plan is working very well and goes to the next phase. Patrick gets squashed with his own house. While laughing and eating, Squidward starts to lure Patrick so he could be the bait to bring SpongeBob to him by pretending to get him to help as phase 2 of his plan. He begins to choke on the fork he was using, resulting him in fainting. Patrick witnesses this and successfully saves Squidward's life by performing CPR on him. Squidward thanks Patrick and he bribes him to help lure SpongeBob to his house by becoming Patrick's new friend. Actually, he is using him to lure SpongeBob as part of his plan, inviting him into his house to watch him practice his clarinet composition called Solitude in E minor, to lure him to sleep, which is hypnotizing him to help him lure SpongeBob as phase 3 of his plan. Despite Patrick claiming to love music, he immediately falls asleep as soon as Squidward plays a single note, which is the perfect opportunity to lure SpongeBob and make him his new friend. Meanwhile, a lonely SpongeBob tries to cheer himself up by drawing faces on 3 of his fingers and pretending they are his friends, but this only results in him bursting into tears. Squidward continues with his plan by attempting to drag the sleeping, heavy Patrick out of his house, and in the process, he throws his back out, which is phase 4 of his plan to make SpongeBob his friend. He uses his cries for help to lure SpongeBob, who sees this as an opportunity to help him and, despite protests from Squidward, he launches himself into the ladder's back and cracks it back into place. Squidward screams but immediately feels better. He repeats his mistake, referring to SpongeBob as his friend, while thanking him, thus making SpongeBob believe that Squidward is his new best friend. They both walk into Squidward's house and prepare to lure Patrick so Squidward could reveal that SpongeBob is now his friend as the 5th and final phase of his plan. Squidward asks SpongeBob to make noise for Patrick by playing a song badly for him on his cello, which he thinks is a bassinet. Patrick wakes up while overhearing the song and appears in the window, only to interrupt the song, causing SpongeBob to destroy the instrument in a fit of rage. Squidward explodes in fury and kicks him out as a result, and decides to take a relaxing bubble bath, but is horrified to find Patrick lounging in the tub and warming up a scrub brush and a bar of soap for him. Disgusted, Squidward furiously orders him to leave, but SpongeBob appears through the window and discovers Patrick in Squidward's tub, causing the two to argue again. This drives Squidward crazy with horror, and he flees his house to hide in a trash can outside. Seeing the huge terrible mess he created instead of getting the peace and quiet he thought he'd get, Squidward realizes he needs a plan to reunite SpongeBob and Patrick and thus make them leave him alone. Squidward decides to invite SpongeBob and Patrick to a dinner party without telling either of them that the other is coming to fix their friendship. When they arrive, they are still mad at each other. Squidward tries to get them back together by offering them soda, but the situation devolves into a competition to see who can drink the most soda and thus become Squidward's friend. Eventually, Squidward runs out of soda and leaves to get some more, telling the two to stay and chat. While he is gone, SpongeBob and Patrick, who are both extremely engorged from all the soda they drank, still refuse to talk or even look at each other. SpongeBob then hiccups a small bubble that makes a burping sound upon popping, which amuses them both. Their immense laughter which follows releases bubbles, reverts them to their normal weight, and they become friends again. However, they create so many bubbles that it causes Squidward's house to explode. Upon arriving back and seeing the destruction, Squidward gets enraged and angrily tells the two to leave, and slams the door, which is somehow still standing, shut. Seconds later, a bubble pops against the door, causing it to fall over and crush Squidward, who then weakly moans over regaining pain in his back, concluding the episode. Next, I'm going to talk about boating school. Enjoy. An excited SpongeBob rides his unicycle to Mrs. Puff's boating school for his driving exam to start the episode, eager to finally get his driver's license. When he arrives, he throws his unicycle away under the assumption that he will definitely pass and no longer need it. Having taken the oral exam 37 times before, SpongeBob is able to answer most of the questions before Mrs. Puff even asks them. However, upon reaching the driving portion, SpongeBob gets nervous and quickly loses control of the boat, crashing into a lighthouse and causing Mrs. Puff's body to inflate. Later that night, SpongeBob complains about his failure to Gary, who asks him to go for a walk, which he declines. Patrick is then heard talking to him from a walkie-talkie under his covers. He asks SpongeBob to head to his library for a surprise, and SpongeBob finds Patrick wearing his clothes and calling himself Patrick Squarepants. SpongeBob is too depressed to laugh at this, and explains his problem to Patrick, mentioning that he needs someone to help him think straight during the driving test. Patrick quickly devises a plan. Using a cowboy hat to hide the antenna, he puts a walkie-talkie inside SpongeBob's head so he can offer advice. The next day, SpongeBob goes back to take the test again. When asked to start the boat, he initially panics, but Patrick's instructions keep him calm. Just after SpongeBob puts the boat in drive, he almost floors the pedal, but Patrick stops him just before his foot touches the pedal. Patrick then tells him to use his big toe on the pedal, and SpongeBob's toe pops out of his shoe to gently press the pedal. This is followed by a montage of SpongeBob acing the exam, interspersed with shots of Patrick eating SpongeBob's food, and reading his diary while helping him. Mrs. Puff is floored by SpongeBob's sudden improvement and jokingly suggests that his success is due to an antenna under his hat through which, some guy miles away from here, is giving him all the answers. SpongeBob and Patrick finds this hilarious until Mrs. Puff tells SpongeBob it would be cheating to do so. Upon realizing he has been cheating, SpongeBob goes into hysterics, followed by Patrick. Devastated and ashamed about what he has done, Patrick flees to his house, crying. SpongeBob starts driving wildly all over the course and sobbing, while Mrs. Puff, in a panic, tries desperately to stop him. SpongeBob is too distraught to listen and crashes the boat, failing the test and causing Mrs. Puff to inflate once again. As the episode ends with SpongeBob leaving boating school, he finds Gary riding his unicycle. SpongeBob rides off on it, with Gary atop his head, and happily rides off to visit the hospital, thus ending the episode from there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. Goodbye everyone.